Not only are Disney and Lucasfilm currently focused on Star Wars Episode 9, 2 live-action TV series, as well as a new Star Wars trilogy, also known as the Fourth Trilogy, by the creators of Game of Thrones, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, the Star Wars franchise seems to be very expansive. We do know that Disney and Lucasfilm are really coming up with a lot of ideas for the next 10 years, as Kathleen Kennedy has said this before in the past, just a couple of days ago, that they are planning, or replanning, I should say, because, originally they had 10 years worth of content until the soloist Star Wars story box office results came in, which caused them to really rework their entire strategy. Now, what's really exciting about the fourth Star Wars trilogy is that a lot of people are very excited about the fact that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss are attached to these projects, as writers, of course, and that they will be on the hunt for directors in the near future. However, it's described that the new Star Wars trilogy, also known as the Fourth Trilogy by the creators of Game of Thrones, is described to include dozens of Legends stories that are to be made canon by Disney and Lucasfilm. It said that part of the rewrites for Episode 9 by JJ were also done in order to tie in the film lightly into the new Star Wars trilogy. It's described that the new trilogy by Disney plans to film mostly in Europe, including countries like Germany, the Czech Republic, Scotland, and even Italy. It's described that the new technology will be the highest budget for a group of Star Wars films since the prequels and the sequels. It said that some changes were made to the outline of the plot of where the trilogy is going, and that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss will begin writing the script during the end of the summer of 2019. It said that location scouting will begin in early 2020 for filming locations, that David and DB will consult with George Lucas, and Disney and Lucasfilm will carry on George's vision into the new Star Wars trilogy. So I want to go over a couple of parts about all of this, and as to why this really is something that really excites me. Now, number one, the fact that they are carrying a lot of George's visions into the new trilogy and will be consulting with him once again for this new Star Wars trilogy is yet another step in the right direction, and pretty much, Disney course correcting itself, right? We do know that ever since Solo: A Star Wars Story and the results for the box office, as well as The Last Jedi Backlash, you can only imagine that Disney and Lucasfilm are really trying to reshape Star Wars, and we do know that they will be taking this franchise in a totally different direction after Episode 9, starting off with this trilogy. Now, this trilogy is said to have dozens of Legends stories inserted into these three movies. So, a lot of people have been talking about the Old Republic. We heard stories about this a couple of days ago and weeks ago even Kathleen Kennedy herself confirmed that Knights of the Old Republic is in early development, that they are talking about this every single day. So we also know what's really intriguing about all of this is that they plan to shoot mostly in Europe, and that includes countries like the Czech Republic, Germany, Italy, and even other countries as well. So I think that when we look at Star Wars as a whole after Episode 9, since this new trilogy is going to primarily be focused on shooting on location, right, as opposed to in-studio sequences, not only will the new trilogy feel more authentic, but they are using next-generation technology, new technology, if you will, that will have a higher budget than any other Star Wars film in history. So that means that a lot of the CGI and the CG characters will be ultra-realistic. There's going to be a lot of ultra-realism that will be demonstrated in these new movies. So the other thing that I do want to go over, however, is that location scouting is set to begin in early 2020. So in case you guys have no idea what that means that they have location scouts figuring out exactly to the T of where they want to shoot these movies. For example, for Star Wars Episode 9 in the very beginning, they were location scouting over in Scotland and different areas around the world. And I think that when we look at Episode 9, we can see that JJ is trying to really create these unique worlds that separate itself from The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. But now going into this new trilogy, right, we heard reports about a month ago, give or take, that the Old Republic would be the setting, based hundreds of years before The Phantom Menace. And that to me sounds incredible. And the fact that some of the rewrites for Episode 9 by JJ were actually rewritten in order to tie it into the new Star Wars trilogy, some last last-minute changes due to Disney and Lucasfilm's new plan for the fourth trilogy tells us a lot of things about what they're trying to do with the Skywalker saga and how that's going to play a role into the new trilogy, whether it's based in the future or in the past before the prequels. Now, the other thing is that we do know that some of the changes were made to the fourth trilogy, and that's exactly why David Benioff and D.B. Weiss won't be writing now until the very end of summer of 2019. So initially they had a script going on, and then some changes were made until Rian Johnson came in case you guys did not hear about this update. Rian Johnson is working closely with David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, so both of their trilogies are going to be somewhat connected. I don't think literally connected. I think what they mean by connected is that their movies are going to alternate, and what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, one year you get the Game of Thrones guys, the next year you get Rian Johnson, and then in the year after that you get the sequel to the other movie by the Game of Thrones guys, and so on and so forth. That's what I believe that they are doing. So with that being said, guys, what do you think about the new trilogy having dozens of legend stories being told in these movies? I think that pretty much is a dead giveaway that this is in fact going to be the Old Republic era. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.